Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. I'm so excited to have on our show Elie Wurtman. He is a co-chairman of FUSE Autotech. He's a venture capitalist with an amazing history of innovation and success. Elie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here and great to speak to your audience.
Well, before we talk about FUSE Autotech and your partner, Andrew Walser, and the amazing technology vision you have for automotive retail, let's just set the stage a little bit about your success. Elie, give us a few highlights that demonstrate your serial entrepreneurship and your success story in light of the fact that your passion for automotive is absolutely focused at innovating and creating a better customer experience. What gives you the confidence that you're going to take FUSE Autotech to the next level?
Thank you, Brian. I've been innovating in a variety of sectors. I've always looked at big markets where something in the process doesn't make sense and where I can embrace technology to create better outcomes. Back in the 90s, I was one of the first innovators in voice over IP. I was one of the people responsible for bringing down the cost of international calling at the time by 90%, building a global network connecting telephones with very low cost international connectivity. I've done a lot of work in the internet development space, sourced a company called Wix for the fund I was working with at the time, Benchmark Capital, Iron Source, which is a very exciting company. And more recently, as recently as 2014-15, I was one of the first investors and co-chairman of a company called Vroom, which sometimes, is super interesting and sometimes makes me very unpopular with dealers because of the recent advertising campaign that Vroom did. But I assure you that I was no longer involved with the company when that Super Bowl ad was played.
Yes, that did upset a number of dealers. And I'm glad that you weren't associated with that. That would really anger some dealers. But what I'm excited about is you have a history of identifying opportunities, building software systems and teams to tackle them, and then obviously bring these companies to market. I want to talk about how you came across the software development, the vision that Andrew Walser had, because the Walser Automotive Group is one of the few auto dealerships that have successfully reimagined the in-store retail experience. How did you two meet?
So Andrew was a customer in the Walser organization, was a customer of another company I invested in called Auto Leadstar. And the CEO of that company, Aaron Horowitz, invited Andrew to come to Jerusalem. And Andrew said, sure, I'll come for a day, not really realizing that it takes 2 days to get here and get back. But he ended up coming for a couple nights, and I had the pleasure of meeting Andrew in Jerusalem in my home. And we just hit it off, and we've become very good friends as a result. But he also shared with me a vision that I had started to think about at Vroom, which was the entire finance process in a dealership and how important that is in a consumer's experience when they're buying a car, and the need to innovate there, given the size of the opportunity and the kind of central place that takes in the dealership's economics. I thought that'd be really interesting to partner. And Andrew's been spending a few years working on this. And I said, why don't we come together and see if we can't build a big, successful software company that can help lots of dealers innovate in this area.
Well, one of the things that is absolutely clear is that there is a lot of money moving into automotive retail in regards to sales process. We've been flooded with digital retailing companies, and for the most part, these companies have been focused on the online experience, giving tools to consumers to see the affordability of cars, to shop by payment, and these payments being more accurately aligned with their credit and their trade and their total out-of-pocket expense. But here's what I do know. on a weekend, on a busy Saturday, regardless of what tools are on the dealer's website, consumers can still be waiting 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours to get out of the dealership once an agreed upon price. What's the solution there, Elie? Why have we missed that 90+% of all car sales still are happening in the dealership? Why is it taking so long to get that consumer out the door?
So Brian, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what we're trying to address with FUSE Autotech. It is exactly that bottleneck that we all know, we can all visualize at any dealership on a Saturday, of moving kind of all the cars at once on the highway, on the 8-lane highway or 16-lane highway into the toll booth. And getting people through the F&I process might be the biggest frustration, both for a dealership, but also for the consumers that have to sit there and wait to get through that endpoint. And FUSE is really trying to create a fast lane, an automated toll booth, if you will, to help customers get through the purchase process and out the door with a smile on their face and a new car in their hands. And that's really what we're trying to do by automating the F&I process, using software to create greater efficiency and obviously saving time for everyone involved.
Now, I've been in the Minneapolis market for a number of years, consulting with dealers and not having directly worked with Walser. Their reputation of being able to streamline the back office process, the F&I process for all their stores is somewhat legendary. And hats off to the Walser organization for having that vision and investing. But Elie, I want to throw a hard question out at you. There are dealers listening to today who are saying, hey, I don't care what Andrew Walser built. It's probably not world-class enough to scale. I'd rather maybe put my trust in a Cox or a CDK or a Reynolds. Why would a dealer have the confidence that this software can scale outside of a single dealer group's vision for what an F&I process should look like?
Yeah, so Andrew and I partnered really with one goal in mind of building a world-class software company. I spent my career building software-enabled businesses. I'm based in Israel, as I mentioned to you, and it's an amazing startup ecosystem here, where many Israeli companies have been successful in exactly solving this problem. I fell in love with the dealership market through my Vroom experience, recognizing that while Vroom may be successful, that the vast majority of this market will continue to take place in dealerships. I believe in that vision long term. And the idea behind FUSE Autotech is to build a platform which can scale and which can give any dealership world-class capabilities that you'd expect from the very best software companies in the world. And our team here has taken Andrew's vision and transformed it into a reliable, robust SaaS software platform, which will be available to any dealership, in any geography in the U.S. with the same abilities if you're just one location that a Walser organization or a national organization, a public company might have. I think that's the magic of what we're trying to do, is to put world-class software in the hands of every dealer as dealerships go through a period of digital transformation, which is really what's been accelerated over the last couple of years, both because of what we all just experienced with COVID, as well as what's happening with the rise of online competitors.
Well, Elie, that's really a solid answer to the question about, is this something for individual stores or dealer groups? Everyone's looking for operational efficiency, but the truth of the matter is today's F&I manager or F&I infrastructure requires multiple screens. It takes a while for the training and the skill set to develop to be a great F&I manager. Is your vision for the F&I checkout process to be a single screen with simpler interface that minimizes training, or is it also that the salesperson, if the dealer wants it, could do the entire checkout process without not having to leave the customer? What's your thought process on how this software is going to look and who's going to be using it?
So I've spent a lot of time in dealerships, in the F&I departments. It's complicated, right? There's too many screens, too many software systems. Whatever the historic reason is, there's no way that it needs to look that way going forward. And what we're doing with FUSE is creating a single process we call a finance management system, FMS, and it's to really take that entire process, simplify it, put it onto an iPad or a tablet, and really enable anyone in the dealership to check you out, just like you might experience if you've been to an Apple store where the salesperson can also get you through. We think the F&I managers play a very important role and will continue to play an important role with their expertise, but they need better tools to get their job done efficiently and quickly. And FUSE is really about addressing that issue. Let's simplify the software, expedite the process, and get more throughput the entire dealership. You might be able to increase your sales just by saving time and freeing up to get to that next customer that's waiting to speak to somebody.
Now let's talk a little bit about the implementation process. I want dealers to have a clear understanding of where FUSE fits into their software system. So for a dealer who's listening, hey, they may have some digital retailing tools on their website that may be connected with a desking tool. Am I understanding it correctly that once the sales associate and the consumer comes up with a transaction price, that can be plugged into the FUSE Autotech platform to get that transaction completed in the most efficient time as possible? And if that's the case, if I understand that correctly, what type of time savings are we really talking about? What type of efficiencies do you believe you can deliver to a dealer who's honestly dealing with a fairly large backup on a Saturday to get people in and out of the shop?
Yes, I think you're talking about taking the process down to minutes. Officially we talk about 15 minutes, but we can literally use AI and software to go out and look at 1,000 different permutations of a loan at one go. You don't have to kind of go out, come back, modify a term and see what comes back, and let the computer kind of do all that heavy processing, which is just beyond human capability, and get the best options in front of the consumer. And I believe in a win-win situation that by embracing software, we can find that nexus of the best offer for the consumer that also ensures good margin for the dealer and much better operational efficiency. Time is our most valuable resource in life, in business, and everything that we do. And creating time efficiency, I believe, creates customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, and fundamentally a better bottom line for the dealership, both in terms of profit and in terms of customer satisfaction. And when we focus on those two things, ultimately, you build a better business. That's what FUSE is all about, and I'm sure you will see a rapid transformation in the industry once FUSE is in the market.
Well, that's a future that we're all looking for. I mean, absolutely, the cost of doing business continues to rise. Margins continue to shrink. Labor costs are going up. Anything we can be to be more operationally efficient makes sense. Let's talk about a couple tactical things, Elie, because the listeners of this podcast are well, they live and breathe this business, and I'm sure some dealers are asking, hey, this sounds awesome, but will this work with Reynolds DMS? Will it work with CDK DMS? What about Dealer Track DMS? Where are you on your certifications of the platform that would allow a dealer on any popular DMS platforms? And there's a couple new ones coming out that they wouldn't have any fear that this would not work for them.
Yeah, so look, Brian, there's an entire ecosystem. We're not going to magically be universally plugged into every platform that's available. But we're looking at the large platforms that you mentioned, and making sure that we're certified on all the major platforms, and with time, all the minor platforms as well. Our goal is to provide a single screen experience for the F&I process, or as I call it, FMS. In the same way that you have a CRM, you have a DMS, I believe every dealership will have an FMS. I'm fairly certain FUSE will be the market leader. I'm sure we'll have competitors as well. There always are, and there always should be. People should have alternatives. But our goal is to be on the major platforms in short order, so that as many dealers who are interested in being a part of what we're trying to do can be a part of it.
So, Elie, this is a philosophical question. Dealers who are listening to this podcast may be scratching their head a little bit, and they're like, this sounds way too good to be true. Why wouldn't CDK? Why wouldn't Reynolds? Why wouldn't maybe some of the other F&I platform providers, menu people who provide menus? Why couldn't they solve this problem? Why did it take a dealer and the, arguably the best pool of developers in the entire world to solve a problem that every dealer is still faced with? How would you try to frame that answer that give dealers some understanding? Because people bitch about it every single day. So we might as well say, well, how come it's been too hard to solve in the past?
Look, that's a universal question I've been asked, personally for nearly the last 30 years, right? When I was innovating on voice over IP, everyone said to me, what about AT&T? They can do it. They have all the resources in the world. Well, it's really what I call the Innovators Dilemma. And big incumbent companies that have good businesses aren't necessarily motivated to be the innovators. They can be fast followers, they can be slow followers, but fundamentally, it's an outsider that comes in and usually innovates and creates, the new way and the new path forward. I believe and respect that the companies that you mentioned have the abilities to do it. I just think that the innovative thinking that was born in-house at Walser, together with my own entrepreneurial approach, will provide a solution which leapfrogs the current environment and creates a new paradigm. And those companies will play a very important role long-term in the ecosystem, but I do think that the new ideas and the new experiences tend to come from the outside, and will contribute to the technology foundations that dealerships benefit from.
As you were explaining that, a thought came to my mind that is so true, that when I even think of one of the largest transactions within the automotive technology ecosystem was CDK's purchase of Elies. And what's interesting is CDK had previously purchased a number of smaller CRMs. They came in and collapsed them or tried to build their own. But Elies was built out of it's a great story about managing cookie orders. The founders of the company had a business delivering tins of cookies for dealers to their customers after they bought a car, and they built a CRM to really innovate the tracking, delivery, the follow-up, which turned into Elies, which sold for a wonderful price. And again, this was entrepreneurs thinking out of box, using a different framework to solve a problem, and ended up being a world-class software platform. So I agree with you, Elie, that your pedigree, bringing companies to market, building from vision to billions of dollars of market capitalization, this could be the perfect time for you and Andrew to truly make another acronym. Do we need another acronym? Finance Management System, FMS. Come on, Elie, we barely have enough mental capacity to remember all these acronyms, but it has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and it came up in a conversation I was having, with the team in Minneapolis, and it kind of stuck. We do have a lot of acronyms, but if this acronym can replace 15 other software systems that you're using, I'm sure you'll agree it is worthy of an acronym. And that really is my goal, is to simplify the process inside dealerships, and to build something meaningful. And I expect that FUSE, will become standard in the same way that other platforms are standard. You don't run a dealership without a DMS. You don't run a dealership without a CRM. Why this hasn't been addressed up until now, why the entire F&I process hasn't been built into one platform with one screen, is beyond me. And it's sometimes, going back to our prior conversation, it takes an outsider to come in and say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Let's put it together in a different way. And I believe that the acronym FMS will stick, and I think every dealership should have one. And, needless to say, I believe it should be FUSE Autotech.
Well, I would expect you to say that, Elie. And you have a great industry friend, Alan Crutch, on your team. He is so excited about being part of this ecosystem success story, and he actually connected us to do this podcast. So, Alan, thanks for the connection. And Elie, if someone who is listening to this podcast wants a demo, wants more information, wants to know what the cost is, what's the website address that they need to go to?
So it's the same as our name. It's FuseAutotech.com. Believe me, I tried to buy FMS.com, but that was taken. I tried to buy Fuse.com, but that was taken. So it's FuseAutotech.com. And there's a lot of information on our website, and I'm sure the team will be happy to connect with you to do an online demo. Hopefully very soon, an in-person demo. I think that's starting to happen again. And we're really excited to get people set up on the platform and to take their businesses to the next level and delight their customers. And, quite honestly, delight the teams that run dealerships by making the processes easier and more intuitive. And that's really what we're all about, is to delight dealerships while delighting consumers.
Well, that is something I think the industry is waking up to, that we just have to create a better consumer experience. Every other large retail platform and industry has innovated in amazing ways, and it's time for us to really make that in-dealership experience as smooth as possible. Elie, thank you so much for your time today. And for the dealers who are listening, for the industry leaders who are listening, just want to remind you that we have dozens of podcast interviews with industry leaders, disruptors, venture capitalists, and successful entrepreneurs talking about different aspects of the automotive ecosystem. You can go to brianpash.libsyn, libsyn.com, or just go to Google Play for podcasts, the Apple Podcast channel, SoundCloud, or even Spotify. you can find the Brian Pash podcast there. And I want to remind everyone that in July, the 12th annual Digital Marketing Strategies Conference will be in the Napa Valley, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. I bring that up is because there's massive changes going in marketing with the new Apple iOS update, with new privacy changes, with a cookieless future. And it's really impacting both our marketing and sales strategies. And obviously, we're going to be talking about digital retailing and really bringing efficiencies into automotive retail. You're not going to want to miss the conference. It's going to be live, limited to about 125 dealer principals, dealership managers, sales managers, marketing managers, and then those who can't get out to the beautiful Napa Valley will be pleased to know that the conference keynotes, panels, and main stage discussions will all be live streamed, and all our workshops will be available on demand. So whether you can make it live and have a glass of wine with me or dial in from the comfort of your home or office, don't miss the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's going to be awesome to see everyone face to face. Elie, congratulations on the success that you've had in the past. And would you be so kind, maybe in the next 6 to 12 months, to come back on the podcast, let me know how things are going?
It would be my pleasure. And if I happen to be in the Napa area this summer, I hope you'll invite me to your conference as well.
Oh, for sure, because dealers are going to want to see this technology hands-on. And it's something really special when they can meet with the owners, the founders, the visionaries of a company and really get to know them, because that's how great software improves, through relationships. I want to thank everyone for listening, and look out for another great podcast in the coming days as we ramp up to the DMSE conference in the Napa Valley. Everyone, have a great day.